Welcome back to Stranded in Pittsburgh, a show about Pittsburgh sports here on the Stranded Sports Podcast Network. And if you're saying, wow, Nick sounds really glum today, it's because I am. Because I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Every week I come in here and I try to sound all yippee-ki-yay about the Steelers and how they're improving here and they're improving there. And last week they really got me. They really got me after beating Jake Browning, who they're not going to beat again when they play the Bengals for the second time this year. They really got me. They really got me invested. I was all in on the Steelers. And then I was reminded that this team absolutely stinks. They stink. And I think a lot of it starts with the people up top. And I'm not going to sit here and crap all over Mike Tomlin, but some people would kill for what Pittsburgh has had. And I completely understand that, and they're absolutely right to think that. And Mike Tomlin, I'm not going to sit here and say is a bad coach. But how long are we going to sit here and be okay with the standard being finishing above 500? With the talent that has come through, the fact the Killer Bees never sniffed a Super Bowl, the fact that right now this team is just super stagnant, they are just a complete disaster. They are playing teams that they should be running off the field, and they are not coming out with that killer instinct, and it's happened before, and it'll happen again. Something needs to change. There's guys leaving. Hi, Mr. Dotson. Going other places that we thought were scrubs, and they're excelling. Hi, Mike Hilton. It's annoying. I'm over it. Is it just going to sound like a fan whining and complaining instead of a well-researched argument? Absolutely. Because frankly, I'm not going to put in the time to research everything that I want to complain and whine about, because the team wouldn't do that, because they didn't whine and prepare for the Cardinals. They even said we didn't think they were going to put up much of a fight, so we didn't even bother trying. So why would I bother researching all of the times that this team's inconvenienced me, made me want to bash my head through a wall? On Black Friday, I bought a 50-inch TV, used wedding gift cards, erased them, got a 50-inch TV for $150. Unheard of. My grandfather would have patted me on the back and said, good job, son, if he heard I bought a 50-inch TV for that much money 10 years ago. And guess what? This game had me on my hands and knees staring at the TV, begging for something to change, and the change never came. I watched 2 rain delays. You think watching rain delays sucks for the Pirates? Imagine watching it knowing that when it's over, Mitchell Trubisky's going to be under center. They went down 2 touchdowns. I said I could turn it off, but I'm not going to, because for some reason my dumbass thinks there's a chance they're going to come back. And what did I see? I saw Mason Cole throw the ball into the ground and Mitch Trubisky get knocked over like a domino, and the Cardinals land on it. I watched James Conner run for 2 touchdowns. Great for him. He's from Erie. Go Erie. He beat cancer. I beat cancer. We might as well be brothers. I'm rooting for the guy, and I was still pissed. It was a disaster on every account. And then, my wife got some bourbon caramel flavored whipped cream, right? Icing on the top, if you will. That stuff is delicious. And the caramel bourbon whipped cream of this game is the Steelers finally get a touchdown. Deontay Johnson, the #1 receiver. He's the guy you paid to be WR1. He's the guy who's supposed to be making the plays. They're down 2 touchdowns even after his touchdown to a team that's 2-10 and is trying to lose. And what do I see but the whole team doing the freaking kumbaya thriller dance in the end zone, down 2 touchdowns to the Arizona Cardinals? Why do I care? They don't care. Why do I care? I'm starting to ask myself that question. I hope there's an expansion team so I can root for the London Royal Knights, or whatever the hell the London team's called when the NFL totally sells out and moves off to England. I hope I can root for them. I don't know how Browns fans have done it. This is horrendous. I would rather know we're going to suck than watch whatever the hell I've had to watch the last 5 years, because this is mind-bogglingly annoying. To have all this talent, to see all the friends get coaching jobs. What coordinators that Mike Tomlin has had have gone on to be successful elsewhere? I'll give you a hint. 0. He's not claiming Bruce Arians. I'm not giving him that. Don't you dare. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. The fact that we say the standard is the standard and the standard is finishing 500. You don't become one of the richest franchises in North American sports. And I'm not talking about monetarily, I'm talking about on field success. You don't become one of the most respected franchises in sports by doing the bare minimum. By doing the bare minimum. You do it by going out there and winning. And winning to me is not making it to the playoffs and losing by 30 to the number 1 seed. No, winning is actually winning the damn thing. Winning the Super Bowl. Golden Bachelor was last week. We ended our episode pretty abruptly. I have to go watch it with my loving wife, who's probably downstairs going, there he is screaming into his microphone again, so 20 people can listen. Harry made the wrong choice last week. I'm starting to wonder if I made the wrong choice supporting this team because it's a fire. I'm finding it harder and harder to care. But you know what? My dumbass on Thursday night is going to sit down with the remote control and put on Amazon, and voluntarily, I'm going to watch Bailey Zapp, which sounds like a freaking Pac-Man character, play Mitch Trubisky on Thursday Night Football. And it will be a game that sets the NFL back by at least 50 years. It is going to be one of the worst football games you could ever put on your television. And I'm going to watch the full 60 minutes. You know why? Because apparently all the health issues I went through, all the mental health issues I went through, apparently it wasn't enough suffering. I got this. Stop. Yes. And apparently it's not enough suffering because I keep coming back to watch this horse crap team play horse crap football on the off chance they might score more than 10 points in the game. And I don't know why. Nate and Ethan are here. We're going to have a great episode. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be jubilant. It's going to be wonderful. We're going to deck the halls with balls of folly. La, 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 la. Guys, how are you doing?
I think we should just end the show right there. Man, I'm speechless.
Yeah. That's a great 7-minute rant right there. And I think that's all that needs to really be said. I'm at a loss for words.
I think Nick's out of breath. So, no, but if we're going to talk about the Steelers a little bit, yeah, Nick, I mean, completely hammered everything. And I think the biggest thing, obviously not only do the Steelers drop this game embarrassingly to a 2-10 Arizona team, as you said, that is basically tanking, that basically has like 2 players of note on their team, especially with Hollywood Brown out in that game. And you see Deontay Johnson dancing, shooting down the aliens in the end zone. I mean, obviously, like, there's a lot of comments to be made towards Mike Tomlin, the way he runs his team right now, and it's much deserving. But, man, does he got to get a grip of this team? I mean, they can't be losing like this. And especially a year they expect to be in the playoffs and they expect to do something. Obviously, with Kenny Pickett out, now you're turning to Mitch Trubisky, which probably going to be much of the same on offense. Don't expect it to get much better. Or if you put in Mason Rudolph or maybe the Lord and Savior Trace McSorley, for all those Penn State fans that are probably so thrilled to get him onto the practice squad. But, man, Mike Tomlin, I mean, I know these guys are humans and, they want to, be happy that they found the end zone, especially Deontay Johnson, because it's so few and far between for that man over the past 3 years. But, I mean, Mike Tomlin has to, have some new standard. Like, this old BS needs to go. Like, there needs to be something new or Tomlin's going to be out of a job real quick.
Yeah, I think when you look at Mike Tomlin's tenure, especially over the past 5-6 years, it's gone and grown stale. The same things continue to happen. And Nick mentioned it earlier. And just to see how this team has performed, even with all of the pieces that they've had and all of the locker room issues that this team has sustained over the past several years, whether that be with Juju, Claypool, Antonio Brown, just anything that's happening, just everything is just grown too stale. And yeah, Tomlin might have had success early on in his career, picking up a couple playoff wins here and there, but he hasn't gotten a playoff win since 2017. They were the 2 seed, I believe, 2018, and hosted the divisional round, lost in that round, and haven't won a game since. And that was with the Killer Bees. That was the year that they were supposed to go and win a Super Bowl because they made it to the AFC Championship the year before. And then after that, it just seemed to.
Who was the quarterback for the team that beat them?
Who? Oh, it was Blake Bortles.
It was Blake freaking Bortles.
Blake Bortles' year. That was the Jaguars team that came in and beat the Steelers. So all of this talent that the Steelers had then, and then they lost it. Then they lost Bell and Brown, and then even in 2020, when they had the easiest cakewalk of a schedule in the league, start the season 11-0, 12-0, then lose 3 of the last 4 games of the year, and then lose in the wild card round to the Browns, who they should have beat because Kevin Stefanski had COVID, and they were the home team in the wild card round in an expanded playoff. They couldn't get the job done. And then you make the playoffs in 2021 by a godsend after everything went their way in the final weeks of the season. It's grown stale, and like I don't think the Rooneys are going to move on from Tomlin because that's not something that they have done historically. They don't move on from coaches like that. But God, something's got to give. Something has to change. And I don't want to bash Tomlin, but at this point, with everything that has gone on throughout the past several years, and even just this year, and then just the comments that Mika made post-game saying that they weren't prepared and that they should have been more prepared coming into this game, you're an NFL football team. You're an NFL football team that has a shot to make the postseason. This 3-game stretch is probably the easiest 3-game stretch in the league. This is the easiest 3-game stretch in the league. You should be able to rattle off 3 straight wins against the Cardinals, the Patriots, and the lowly Indianapolis Colts, who are without their rookie starting quarterback and who are starting yet another former Jacksonville Jaguar and Gardner Minshew III. Or second. I don't know. Second or third. Third. He's the third. I don't know. That's the 3 easiest games on your schedule all year. You have a chance to set the pace. With the Chiefs' loss, they could have been 1 game out of the first seed in the AFC. They were 1 game away from being 1 game out of the first seed in the AFC if they won on Sunday. But now here we are. The Steelers are 7-5 and are on the ropes. Kenny Pickett didn't show anything except for that first drive where he made a connection with Pickens down the field. Nothing's really changed there. And just the decision-making that he has made in that game, which really just ended his season. And then the decisions offensively down to the goal line, 4th and goal, inexcusable. Just, when's it going to change? What's going to spark this team? Because nothing has seemed to work. The changes that have been made, nothing has seemed to work for this team, regardless of what they try to do. And they might be minuscule changes at best, but just nothing has worked for this team. And it hasn't. And the small changes that they have tried to tweak and tinker with over the past couple of years, that hasn't worked either. And it's not going to change unless something drastically happens. And that's going to need to happen sooner rather than later. And I don't mean in the next couple of weeks to end the season. I mean after the season is over, you have some tough decisions to make on what direction you want to take this team.
I think the worst part of it all was Kenny Pickett gets hurt. They say, we're going to go for it. And I like when Tomlin has balls. I like when he goes out there and doesn't play safe, because I think he plays safe a lot. But if you're going to go and you're finally going to be aggressive and you have the ball on the 6-inch line with Najee Harris, who's been doing some angry running lately, why are you lining up and shotgun? He can extend his arm and be in the end zone, and you line up and shotgun. And this is something they do all year. We've seen it in 4th down scenarios this year. They keep lining up and shotgun for 4th and a little or on the goal line, and it makes no sense. My other gripe is that they fell in love with halfback pitch. They were inside their own 3-yard line and they're pitching it backwards into the end zone. And granted, they never got a safety, but what are they doing? It makes no sense. The only improvement the offense has shown this year that is like actually tangible, actually something that you can say for certain has improved, is the run game. They found the good balance of Najee and Jalen Warren. Granted, they always haven't had the right guy in at the right time, but they found a way to make sure they're feeding each of them when they're the hot hand, at least to an extent. Again, see the second Browns game. But the passing game, anything that was promising from the Bengal game, and I know now this really doesn't matter because Kenny Pickett's injured, but we saw it again. We saw the one play to Pickens, which accounted for half of his passing yards before he went out. Then we saw stupid screen passes. We saw a lack of looking over the middle. I think he got Freiermuth one time for a big first down on the drive where he ended up getting hurt. And I think that was all we saw from Pat. We saw like 3 or 4 3-and-outs right after that super promising opening drive where we tweeted off the Stranded account. They came out with energy and we needed to see that. And then it was just like a really sad balloon, just losing air and flopping around in the air before it inevitably hits the ground. I don't understand. Like you said, it's small things. You don't want to be an armchair coach and act like you know everything, but there's things that they're doing that make absolutely no sense, and it's insane that an NFL coaching staff is not finding a way to rectify it and be smarter about it. It's actually laughable, and they keep doing it, which is probably the worst part of it all. They keep doing it, thinking it's going to work, and I'm pretty sure that's the definition of insanity, is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Nate, I'm going to go look that up in the Webster's dictionary. You talk.
No, I mean, to add on to your point, I just don't understand how Tomlin can come out with that type of game plan week after week and, not realize that, hey, we do need to make some bigger changes. And also he just doesn't have his team ready to play. I mean, he's calling, you have 10 men on the field at one time. You need to take a timeout. You have 12 men on the field. You take a penalty. You're burning timeouts left and right. Tomlin, it's just day after day with him with those type of mistakes, silly little mistakes. And if you're a team that is trying to vie for an AFC North championship or even an AFC championship, you can't have those type of mistakes. I mean, yes, Tomlin will go down as probably one of the best coaches of this era, but I mean, you look like we've talked ad nauseum about this last decade under his tenure. I mean, just the mistakes, game day mistakes that continually happen. I just don't understand how it's still feasible for that to keep going on. But I mean, just what a terrible day. Probably the worst day in Acrisure Heinz Field's history since it opened. You got the weather delays. You got embarrassed by a touchdown underdog, a 2-10 team, as we talked, basically tanking. Not a whole lot to show for in weeks past. Got obliterated by the Rams the week before. And then you just have them coming out, basically taking your game plan from the week before. Trey McBride up the middle. He's your leading receiver. He scores twice on the same drive. Obviously, that play was called incomplete, just like Deontay's was called the week before. And then you have your running game, James Conner, playing smash mouth football and just running all over you and getting to the end zone twice. And that's what kind of was expected for James Conner. But they beat you basically the same way you just beat the Bengals last week. And the Steelers showed no glimpse of that compared to what we saw the first 400-plus yard game in quite some time. And now they're back to sort of the same old as we've seen from the past. And talking about the awful day that it was on Sunday. I mean, my poor father was in attendance. Ethan, I don't know. Were you there?
I was, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Thank God I was able to be like Nick and sit from our homes and watch this game. But now they got to go out and play another atrocious team in the Patriots and what used to be a premier rivalry in the AFC. And what's expected to be the funeral game because they're asking everyone to show up wearing black. So, man, I mean, after that Bengals game, everyone was like, okay, I mean, they're turning the corner here. All right, no more Matt Canada. Let's blame it all on him. Now the Steelers are only averaging 13 points per game on offense, which is worse when Canada was there. So what's to be expected now? They're going to go put a six spot up on the board against the Patriots. But, I mean, touching on, Jalen Warren, Deontay Johnson, a lot of them saying they weren't ready for this team. That's coaching. Obviously, you can say the players weren't ready, but I think that comes down to coaching. I wonder what the Steelers were doing, probably playing their music like Chase Claypool wanted to at practice, just lollygagging around, getting ready for the game, expecting a cakewalk. And you know what? It's an NFL football team. You got to be prepared, no matter who it is. Even if they have 0 losses, even if it's the Panthers and they have 0 losses, you got to be ready on any given Sunday.
And you want to talk about the little mistakes, the game day mistakes. How about the illegal formations that the Steelers had? Just simple, just lining up on first down.
Coaching.
Again, coaching.
Again, and yes, you can blame it on the play. You can blame it on the players all you want. Like, the players should be responsible for a lot of that. But come on, that mostly comes down to coaching.
It does come down to coaching. But yes, you got to know the formation. You got to line up where you're supposed to line up, and don't get flagged. There was so many freaking pre-snap penalties last week where it was just like nauseating to watch. And just drives just will get killed by that. Obviously, the Steelers didn't have much to move on and build upon on those offensive drives, but still, it's still going to kill your momentum or whatever momentum you're trying to regain and move the ball down the field. And then you got Mason Cole doing worm burners into the ground. Kenny Pickett was able to fall on the first one, but Trubisky, like Nick said, just fell over, couldn't recover it. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's just inexcusable, just the product that is put out onto the field from the Steelers team all season long. Even when they've had their bright spots, they've had their moments this year. But it's just been some of the things that they have done over the course of every single little game this year has just been mind-boggling. And so many questions just race through your mind on what the heck is this team doing? And yeah, I don't expect much of this game. I won't even be watching this game. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect. You got a Patriots team that's coming in who allowed, I think it was just 6 points a week ago, who have played pretty, as bad as they are, they played well defensively against a lackluster Chargers team. But I don't expect a lot from the Steelers, especially after that performance, especially after they should have easily beaten the Cardinals. And with Trubisky and a quarterback and a lot of question marks, especially with the preparation of the team on a short week, nonetheless, I don't know what to expect. And it's going to be ugly. That's all I can say.
I'm very thankful for Mike Tomlin. He finished 500 with a guy named Duck and Mason Rudolph at quarterback. He's made chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what a few times. And I know they're even 7-5 right now, but the issue is they should be 10-2, 9-3. But they just weren't prepared. And I know that this team is better than what the on-product field is resembling right now. And you can tell me why I'm wrong, and I'm not going to listen, and not because I think I'm better than you, but because it's just time. I think there comes a time where you just have to realize something's not working out, whether it be with a woman, your employer, or an NFL coach. And I think right now, or at least over the offseason, if they don't choose to part ways, there needs to be a conversation of, Mike, we really, really need something to change in the culture of this team. But I don't know. They don't pay me to do that. Thursday's going to end in a 6-6 tie. 4 total field goals, 6-6 tie, combined 382 yards of offense. Combined.
See, yeah. I think to go off in terms of predictions, sorry, Ethan. Now, I think, I've been so wrong this year. Again, we've talked about trying to go back and adding up what our records are this year on predictions. But I'm curious to see if the Steelers sort of say, all right, last week was not our best product, probably in quite some time on the field. Not saying that they respond with this glorious 35-10 shellacking of the Patriots, which is probably well overdue. But I think somehow the Steelers go in and they get a 2-point victory, 16-14, low scoring. The Patriots have only scored 13 combined points over the last 3 games, but somehow the Steelers are going to let up a couple touchdowns. Levi Wallace is going to be left in the dust a couple times probably. But I don't know. We'll see. Harris is questionable coming into this game, so maybe Warren has another solid performance on the ground and gets to the end zone once or twice, and maybe that's the difference maker is the ground game, which was not where it was the last couple weeks, this past week against Arizona. But it was hard for me to pick this one, but I'm saying 16-14 Steelers.
One thing I want to add before I make my prediction. Remember when Patrick Peterson made that comment about Kyler Murray? And then over the week in preparation for the game, saying that, I know his style. He just need to keep him in the pocket. Well, him getting stiff-armed by James Conner in the fourth quarter, just like absolutely getting bodied by James Conner, was just the icing on the cake for me in watching that game. Anywho, this I don't even, like I said, I don't even know what to expect. If you're the Steelers, you want to come out this one with a fire lit under you and really just come out and just whisk away everything that went wrong last week. It's going to be hard with Mitch Trubisky in as a starting quarterback. Obviously, he hasn't gotten a lot of reps from what we've seen out of him this year, and just watching him and how he's played, it hasn't been good. So if you're the Steelers, you want to come out strong and firing against a team that you know you can beat and really put up that big game that you've been looking for all season long. But that's not going to happen. I've got it 10-7 Pittsburgh. Low scoring.
Wow.
Steelers will somehow get a touchdown and a field goal, and the Patriots will somehow find a way to score. Even with the defense and TJ Watt not being probably 100% coming into this game after getting hurt on Sunday, Minka Fitzpatrick having some problems as well once again, but he said he'll be fine for Thursday. I just think it's going to be one of those tight ones again.
If Mitchell Trubisky throws for 2 touchdowns against New England, we're all going to go to Buffalo Wild Wings, and I'm going to order Atomic Wings and eat them. And we'll film it for all of you.
Deal.
He's not going to do it, but I'm willing to make that wager. I'm willing, and I'll do it. When? I don't know, but I'll do it. You have my word. The Penguins stink too, but at least they won a title within the last 10 years of our lives. Bryce, do you have anything you want to talk about, or is that enough trauma for one night?
No, we can touch on the Pens a little bit. I'm sure you don't want to hear it that much just because, man, your heart rate's up after
it's going. I don't have my Apple Watch on, but it would be giving me warnings if it was on.
Yeah. Telling you to get to the nearest hospital anyways. The Pens, man, I mean, when it's looking better, they just take 3 steps backwards. I mean, they find a way after an overtime loss in Nashville. They go into Tampa. They were down 2-0 the last time we were recording. They let up 17 shots in the first period to the Lightning. They were down 2-0, but the Penguins managed to come back and win a 4-2 game in a game that Tristan Jarry scored. The first time a Penguins goalkeeper has ever scored a goal in general in a game. Obviously, an empty net goal. And then the Pens take on their biggest rival in the history of their franchise and the Flyers, and they didn't lay an egg exactly because they did get 2 points out of 4 possible, but against a team where you definitely could have beat them, they came up empty-handed in the win column, especially in the Metro, which is huge. They're 6th place right now, which, I mean, it's still, relatively early enough that there's still a lot of movement to be had over the next 2-3 months, but the issues, just like the Steelers, are continually becoming more and more glaring and more obvious. The Penguins' power play is abysmal. They can't score. And when you have 4 potential Hall of Famers on there and another purified goal scorer on there, how the hell can you not score on the power play? 29 consecutive opportunities have gone to the wayside. They've let up a shorthanded goal in the meantime during that stretch. The Flyers dominated basically when they were a man down. Like, how is that possible against a team that has a lot of skill and a lot of firepower? And when the puck's not getting to the net, no wonder they're not scoring. I mean, this team just does not shoot on the power play. So that's, the biggest thing right now with the Pens is they just cannot, for the love of God, shoot the puck. I mean, every time Gino gets the puck on his stick, he should be shooting, no matter if the lane's open or not. One timer, just like Ovechkin does. Ovechkin doesn't look when he shoots. He just puts it towards the net and hope it goes in. And he's a rocket of a shot that goes over 100 miles an hour, so no wonder it goes in. But Gino needs to be doing the same thing. And the Penguins are 30th in the NHL and power play percentage at 10.5%. I don't know. I haven't looked when the last time it was that low or the last time they sat 30th in the NHL, but I'm sure it's been a long time because the Penguins have had goal scorer after goal scorer after goal scorer on that power play, and they just can't get it done. But the other thing is defense has also been a struggle for the Pens, especially letting up odd man breaks. They're 30th in the NHL and allowing odd man breaks at 5.54 per game. And that happened with the perfect example in overtime against the Flyers on Monday. On the faceoff, Crosby and Gensel both chasing a guy behind the net. And that's actually a big surprise to come from your captain, your leader, someone who has a high hockey IQ, and Crosby to chase along with Gensel, and it leads to a 2-on-1 the other way, and Sean Couturier has an easy little tap-in 2-on-1 goal to beat the Penguins in a home and home. So the Flyers getting the last laugh, and they look like a team now that has the Pens number as of now. And the Penguins just sort of reeling. And it's funny because they, like I said, they find ways to win, and then they decide to reel right back into where they probably should be and outside of the playoffs. So, it's just been roller coaster of emotions, say it every single week for this Pens team. Never know when it's going to get better. They had the 5-game win streak, but even that seems so long ago for the Pens. So they have Tampa coming up again. They have Florida, who's a really good team, and then they're home to the Arizona Coyotes, and Logan Cooley makes his return to Pittsburgh. So it's interesting to see what the Pens will do. There's some conversation starting to brew about Mike Sullivan, his tenure with the Pens. Is it coming to a close? So two of the more prominent coaches in the city, time's ticking.
With Mike Sullivan being on the hot seat potentially, do you think, unlike the Steelers, which I'm not saying the Steelers should do it, they don't need more change right now for the discombobulated team they have going on. What do you think a timeline is realistically? Say they keep playing this very mediocre hockey there at PPG. When do you think like the deadline is for them to ditch Sullivan this year?
I'd love to go back and look when they let go of Michel Therrien in 2009 and when they let go of Mike Johnston whenever Sullivan came in to see, because I think that was like end of January. I think for potentially both of those guys.
Wasn't Johnston middle of December?
Yeah, so I think he has until at least the new year, maybe a little bit afterwards. But the Penguins have never been afraid to make the move. Obviously, there's new ownership, so it's curious to see what they do. But they weren't afraid to get rid of Hextall and the GM group. So, now that, the tides have turned a little bit and Sullivan's name's getting thrown into the fire a little bit with the hot seat conversation. I don't know. I think it's definitely to the new year. You give them through December, but if it gets really bad really quickly, then it could be sooner than that. So,
Well said. Penguins Talk, as always, brought to you by Pure Hockey. You did NHL apparel, hockey equipment, protective gear, and more. Pure Hockey's got it all. Hit the link in the bio for more. Thank you to Pure Hockey for sponsoring Penguins Talk each and every week, right here on Stranded in Pittsburgh. I'm done talking like that now. It's a quick one tonight. It's time for the last call. Whichever one of you would like the honor, go right ahead.
I'll go first tonight. As you both know, I'm not a big NBA guy, but this little in-season tournament that they have going on over this past couple month or so. It's been very entertaining, especially over the past week with the quarterfinals last night and the semifinals on Thursday and the final in Vegas on Saturday. It's been a pretty intense tournament. A lot of money on the line. A lot of guys, especially if they're two-way guys, making if they win the whole shebang, they get half of their salary for the year just off playing that in-season tournament. So it's a nice little boost, but it's really invigorated regular season NBA basketball. There's a lot more energy. That Pacers-Celtics game, Tyrese Halliburton with his first triple-double of his career, I believe, last night, and just the energy inside of that building, a building that hasn't seen a lot of success, a team that hasn't seen a lot of success over the past several years and over the past decade even. Just to see that electricity inside the building, it's going to give some of these teams that don't have a lot of experience winning some of that fun and uniqueness of that playoff setting in this in-season tournament. Obviously, this first one's experience for everyone to take in, but I think overall for the first in-season tournament, it's a very, very entertaining thing to watch. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm going to watch the championship game on Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of it, and it seems very exciting. I saw the little bit of the upset of the Pacers, but to go off of Nick, what we were just talking about with the Pens and the firings, Ethan, you were right. Mike Johnston was December 12th, 2015. Michelle Therrien, February 15th, 2009. What do those 2 years have in common? Obviously, the Pens fired a coach and they won the Stanley Cup. And the Pens have definitely on paper a roster that can win. But it goes into my little bit of my last call point. The Pittsburgh sports doomsday clock is certainly ticking. I mean, the two obviously big sports in the city over the past 2 decades are starting to unravel. Both teams are heading into what could be a very, very long rebuilding process, potentially. Now, obviously, the Steelers have found ways to quickly turn around and draft and get right back into the conversation. But the Pens as well, once Sid and Gino and Letang and those guys are gone, man, it's going to be a lot of dark and cool days in Pittsburgh. And if the Steelers are right there alongside of them, I don't know what Pittsburgh will do. I mean, it may turn into an apocalyptic war zone for all we know, because we've never had the experience that Cleveland's had or that Buffalo's had or some of these other cities that have gone stretches without good sports teams. And obviously the Pirates might be right there, but who knows? I mean, they still could not make the playoffs for years. We don't know. We think they're going to, but they're the Pittsburgh Pirates. Every time you think they're ready, they're not. So Pittsburgh better be ready for what could hit them in the next year or two.
When you live with a borrowed liver, as I do, you don't have time to sit and wait around for rebuilds. Do you know the way my heart sank into my big toe when I watched the end of that Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer that said coming 2025? I could have a child by then. I don't have till 2025 to wait around to buy a video game. I don't have time to wait around to watch Pittsburgh rebuild every single sports team in the city. And am I totally spoiled for that? Yeah, we are, as Nate said. The Pirates haven't really done anything. They're just watching everyone else load up. Okay, they got young talent. Maybe they got some tricks up their sleeve. The Penguins? The Steelers? Pitt basketball? You're not always playing ITT Tech. There's time for them to get it turned around, but ever since they started playing real teams, RMU, what am I supposed? What, Pitt women? No one's good right now. But there's one saving grace, and it's across the pond. The Premier League, in which I'm a free agent fan. So earlier today, I looked at who's at the top of the table, and it's Arsenal. The Arsenal Gunners. They're ahead by 5 points, which to me, it could be a lot. I think they get 3 points for a win, so that's like a game and 2 draws. So guess what? Go Gunners. I'm going to come back next week fully decked out in Arsenal gear because I need to have something right now. Someone winning. And if they lose, then you just might lose me. And that's not as deep as you think. I just mean I might not podcast anymore. And I know all 20 of you were going, oh no, Nick, no, we need you. But frankly, life's too short to be miserable for 40 minutes. Nate and Ethan and I, we can go get coffee like grown adults. You can go get coffee, talk about the wives, talk about the 9 to 5, and we can just do that in the comfort of a coffee shop. I'm going to set our own home. That's what we're doing right now, so that's not really changing anything. We can just go to a coffee shop, drink our caramel lattes, and be happy and not have to relive the trauma of the past. This isn't supposed to be a therapy session, but tonight it was. And I have a horrible feeling there's going to be a lot more therapy sessions than there's going to be celebrations. But if there is a celebration, we'll be here. And we celebrate each and every week because you let us play in your ear canals. And we're very thankful for that. For Nate and Ethan, my name's Nick. Don't watch the game Thursday. Really don't. See ya.